Hey, what's up everyone? I just got back from NAMM. Well, actually I got back a few days ago, and I was going to make a bunch of videos while I was out there, and I really did try, but some crazy stuff happened to me. And I'll get to that after I show you what I did on day one. But yeah, it was insane. It was an Airbnb nightmare, and I'll tell you all about it, but here's the report I filed from day one. Dubious technological claims, solutions to problems you never knew you had. The same old stuff you've seen a million times before. And maybe, just maybe, a little bit of innovation. Welcome to NAMM 2019. Hey, what's up everyone? It's about 2 p.m. on day one of NAMM 2019, the North American Music Merchant Show, one of the largest music trade shows on the planet. Over the next 4 days, it is claimed that nearly 100,000 people will come through the doors behind me. The show has been open for about 4 hours now, and in my role as media for this event, it is my job to dutifully report that the bathrooms already smell horrible. Hippopotamus cage at the zoo bad. So I've seen a few things that piqued my interest on day one. The first product comes from a company that hails from Boulder, Colorado. So I traveled halfway across the country to discover something that was designed in my backyard. Sphiero's big product is called the Spectrum. It is a MIDI over Bluetooth color sensing controller ring. It's a little difficult to explain, but there's a color sensing sensor that assigns different MIDI notes to be triggered. So basically the sensor can differentiate between colors, and the pad is nothing more than a mouse pad. It can trigger sounds from the included app that's available for iOS and Android, or it can be used as a pure MIDI controller in any DAW. The Spectrum ring is available from Sphero.com for $64.99. It is certainly a unique and innovative product, but I would be remiss if I just praised it. There is certainly room for criticism with this product. Now, this may be the fact that their demo units were iPads, but I found the round-trip latency painfully slow, like too slow for any serious professional application. Again, this could just be the hardware that they were running the demos off of, and not an indication of the actual latency caused by MIDI over Bluetooth. Also, the rings themselves don't offer velocity sensitivity, which, again, makes it a non-starter for professional applications, other than maybe like triggering auto-quantized loops or something. Nevertheless, I don't think that this product is meant to replace the Akai and Complete Control MIDI controllers of the world. It is more of a mass-market music toy. And just as Guitar Hero and Rock Band stoked the love of music in the kids coming of age today, unique implementation of MIDI may provide an easy point of entry for children and instill in them a love of music for years to come. Because, like it or not, triggering samples via MIDI will be to the first half of the 21st century what shredding guitar was to the last part of the 20th. So I applaud and welcome any product that makes music more accessible to everyone in an innovative way. Next up, we have the SoftTube Console 1, a product defined as much by what it doesn't do as by what it does. So what does it do? Well, it controls the Console 1 VST, and that's it. It does it so well that SoftTube is betting that the hardware makes your life so much easier that any other company's gates, EQs, and compressors will fall by the wayside. It comes with the SSL 4000E channel by default, but you can also run other hardware emulations channels made by SoftTube for an additional price. These include another officially licensed SSL emulation, I didn't write down which one, and two obviously unlicensed emulators that they're calling British First Class and American First Class, so make of that what you will. These offer input gain, a noise gate, an EQ, a compressor, and output volume. And SoftTube will only run official SoftTube channels and a few universal audio plugins. The caveat to this is that those plugins are limited to just gates, EQs, and compressors and have to slot into Console 1 in the same position. So you couldn't, for instance, throw a reverb where the compressor is supposed to be and control it with Console 1. So my next thought was that it would be a good for live control then, right? It can simultaneously address so many channels, and it would be a no-brainer. However, SoftTube told me that although you could theoretically use it for that purpose, it is not designed for that specifically, and the processor overhead you may experience with Console 1 added to every single channel in your DAW tracks in a live environment may make other tailor-made solutions more viable. So what's the point of this product? Well, from monkeying around with it on the showroom floor, I can tell you that for a fact, the hardware-software integration is seamless, as well it should be, am I right? I mean, it literally controls one piece of software and explicitly does not control every other piece of software. And like I said at the top, this product is more about what it doesn't do than what it does. It is a hardware controller for a channel strip. But it works so well that it may become the new way you mix your tracks. And if it does, but you want additional color, then that color will necessarily come from Softtube. Right after I filed that report, I hadn't edited it together yet, but I went to a little bar called The Cave. It's a dive bar near the Anaheim Convention Center for a Pure Mix meetup. Now, I'm not a Pure Mix client, but there were a bunch of famous audio engineers there, Fab from Pure Mix, Andrew Sheps, a bunch of people, and it was a cool hangout, and everyone was really cool, willing to discuss the craft of audio engineering, and I thought that was really neat. And they had an open bar tab, and they encouraged me to take advantage of it, so I did, and I went back to my Airbnb. No big deal. My Airbnb was inside this big house, and I had my own private room with a lock, and then I had my own bathroom. So I figured, it was chill. I went to sleep that night at around midnight or 1 in the morning, and then right around 4:30 or 5 in the morning, there was a knock on the front door. And I think I remember hearing, search warrant, open up. But it was only a matter of seconds before my door got kicked in. They threw the covers off of me. I was in my jammy jams. And they said, let me see your hands. Let me see your fucking hands. So I put my hands up because I was obviously frightened. Well, the cop turned me around and put my hands behind my back and put these handcuffs on. I still have some bruises on my wrist because he put them on the wrong way. And I said, well, why are you handcuffing me? And the cop said, well, it's because of my own safety and your safety. And I was like, okay. And they dragged me out into the living room, and I sat there for about 3 hours while they ransacked the house. They went through my luggage, all of my camera gear, all of my memory cards, everything got mixed up, and that's why it's been taking so long to make this video for you today. And it was a little bit jarring, to say the least, and I didn't really enjoy it, but I felt really bad for the other Airbnb unit in the house, which was occupied by these 2 Italian dudes who had just flown in from Italy that day for NAMM. They were staying in a suite with 2 bedrooms, and it was like, welcome to America, here's a gun in your face, you're about to get handcuffed. Well, the cops, they were just doing their job, and I don't think they really found anything. They went through the house with a fine-tooth comb, and I think I heard the words false accusations said by the cops once. They pulled me into this other room once they realized that I was from NAMM and I'd just gotten in the day before, and they asked me a few questions after about 3 hours in cuffs. And I told them I didn't see anyone selling drugs, and I don't know what's going on here. I just showed up. And they said, well, you're going to have to find another place to stay, but you got to leave. So I left, even though it was about 7:30 in the morning. I went to a little diner in Garden Grove, which was where my Airbnb was. So I sat there for about 3 hours calling every hotel in the area because 100,000 people go to NAMM and all the hotels were booked. So I found one that would let me check in early, and then I called Airbnb, and that's where the real trouble began. You see, I think there was a false accusation against my Airbnb owner, so I feel bad for her because she had all this mayhem happen on her watch, and it wasn't really her fault. And as for the Orange County Sheriff's deputies who pulled me out of bed and cuffed me and threw me onto a chair in the middle of that living room, well, they were just doing their job, and they had to make sure that they were safe and that I was safe, and that's why they detained me for so long. Now, when I called Airbnb, though, it was a different story. I told them, hey, I've been cuffed and detained by men with guns early in the morning, and I'm going to need a refund. And the lady that works for Airbnb said, well, it sounds like you stayed there the night before, and you stayed another half a night, so you're going to have to at least pay for a night and a half. And I said, a half a night? I was woken up at 4 in the morning by men with guns. They detained me and handcuffed me. They took away my freedom, and they looked through my personal property. Well, she was very unsympathetic, but I got in touch with the host, and the host said, of course, I'll issue you a full refund. And then I ended up staying at a Best Western in Orange, which was so much better than the Airbnb because no one knocked through my door in the middle of the night and put me in cuffs. And, well, all my stuff was in disarray, so I was unable to file more reports from NAMM. I did check out a few things on the Saturday, which was my last day there, but I missed that whole Friday. I was exhausted. I slept. So that was my Airbnb experience, and that was my NAMM experience this year. I'm sure that subsequent years will be better, but this is what I had to work with for now. So that's all for this year's NAMM coverage from Talking Leaf Media. No No real huge trends to report, except for with that Console 1 stuff, I saw this trend towards integrating hardware and software. But, after being detained by sheriff's deputies, about 15 of them who raided the house, I sort of lost the spirit for walking around analyzing gear. So I didn't really do quite as much of it as I would have liked to. But hey, you know what? That's Airbnb for you. So if I can have one piece of advice that I learned from NAMM this year, it wasn't anything that I learned by talking to some famous audio engineers from LA. It was more the piece of advice that you should probably just stay at a hotel if you're ever going to go traveling. And that's all I got to say, everyone. Peace.